Every leader has bad days. Most pretend they don't. This is the show where leaders stop pretending and start learning. Welcome to the Bad Days Leadership Podcast, where leaders pull back the curtain on decisions they cringe about, runes they misread, and the failures that shaped everything after. Real leaders, real mistakes, real lessons. Because you can't become a great leader without a few bad days. Welcome back to the Bad Days Leadership Podcast, the show where we learn lessons from our worst and those days that we do not want to have in our social media feeds. We learn a lot from those days, and that's what we're here to talk about today. My name is Matt Paden. I'm your host, and I am so excited that today we have with us someone who understands leadership from the perspective of an educator, a minister, a community leader, a father, a husband, just a leader, and a good guy. My friend, Dr. Darwin Mason Jr. is here with us today. Darwin, it's good to see you. Welcome to the Bad Days Leadership Podcast.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun. You have a lot of different experiences to draw from.
Sure.
We've gotten to know each other over the last year or two, and I just have appreciated from a distance how you lead, but I also know there's some days, just like me, just like everybody listening, that you're like, that wasn't my best day.
Right. Sure.
But we're going to talk about what we learned from those.
Sounds good.
So super excited for you to be here. You ready to jump in?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right, let's do it. Before we get into the hard stuff, let's talk a little bit about some context, right?
Okay.
You've led in the school setting.
Yes.
Public and private.
Yes.
You've led in church settings.
Yeah.
You've led in community settings.
Sure.
You've led in a variety of settings, I guess is the context I'm trying to paint with a variety of different people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different expectations.
Yeah.
Man, the thing that impresses me so much about your work is that you have taken on interesting opportunities and interesting places with interesting people and have led well everywhere you've been.
Thank you.
And that's the story people talk about when they talk about you. And so
thanks.
Here's a softball for you.
Okay.
So when you hear the phrase bad days leadership, just what comes to mind?
It comes to my what comes to mind is just as you mentioned, those days where we don't want to discuss, those days that we don't want to relive. And then the first thing that comes to mind is minimizing. Like when I hear bad days leadership, I'm thinking to myself, how do I minimize bad days as a leader? But we've all had those days, and we will have those days. But it's the days that you don't necessarily want to repeat, even though you learn from them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you, like me, have also studied leadership academically.
Yeah.
And so we can draw from a little bit of the scholar side, but I think most of our conversation will draw from the practitioner side.
Sounds good.
Leading teams, leading people, leading in different types of organizations.
Yeah.
But as you think about some of the spaces you've had the opportunity to lead in, and you think about just the word leadership, what's something that you used to think was great leadership, but now you know with some experience, some wisdom, some wins and losses behind us, just like everybody else. You used to think that was great leadership, but now you look back and say that wasn't.
I think initially, especially as a younger leader, I thought good leadership meant having all the answers. So I walked into a number of different spaces thinking that I could research my way into doing it well, that I could have all the answers when I walked into a place. And if I was able to feed everybody all the answers, then I was leading well.
Right.
And I realized really quickly that it's not necessarily about having all the answers, but it's about allowing people to grow and come up with a lot of those things on their own, and just being able to coach them through and set some boundaries for them to learn as you build your structure, your system, and all those type of things. But I started, leading schools at 29. Yeah. And I had teachers who were, 30 years as teachers. I had one teacher tell me that I was leading classes when this dude was still had milk on him, So I came in with this idea of the only way that I can lead people who are older and people who have more experience in some spaces is to give them all the answers. I have to have no holes in everything that I say. So coming as learning to be a leader that learns. And a learner first has actually helped me leading people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I believe, and it's said by a lot of people, but I believe it, leaders have to be lifelong learners.
Yes, sure.
So we do a lot of work with early career,
Yeah.
mid-career people, those people who've made the jump from I was on the team, now I lead the team.
Yeah.
Young professionals, young leaders. I have a deep appreciation for those folks. I remember being that person who was on the team on Friday, and then on Friday was told I'm leading the team starting Monday,
Right.
and you're looking around going, wait a minute, what
Right.
just happened here, right? I remember that moment specifically, but draw from a little bit of your experience. What's a story maybe that you remember? Tell us a story about maybe it was you, maybe it was something you observed in somebody else, but what's a behavior or a story that you can share that you said, you know what, I never want to repeat that again, either myself or what I've seen from somebody else.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity of leading or being in a space where the leader liked the organization, but did not love and like the people.
Oh, wow.
And that was something that I think hindered our work together, because he liked the idea of leadership, but not the people that he was leading.
Absolutely.
And I learned really quickly, and a mentor of mine told me this, and initially I didn't want to embrace this concept, but it became really true when I was in the concept where I was leading alongside someone who wasn't a fan of the people. Is he told me, he said, Darwin, you have to love the people you lead. And I was thinking, I have to love her. No, I don't. You know what I mean? But what I learned, what he was trying to teach me, is that if you don't value them as people, you can't lead them as people or lead an organization. And I was under a leader, or led alongside a leader who loved the idea of leading, loved the idea of the job that he held, but was not a really big fan or loved the people that he was leading. And it caused for disconnection, a lot of disconnection. And as you know, when people are disconnected, complaints rise. And I saw an organization that was performing really well start to drift.
Yeah.
And when I look back at it, it was because, oh man, you love the idea, right? But you don't love the people that you're leading. And that impacted me greatly as I, continue to lead myself.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. That's a good word. In our book, the first core principle is work for the good of the people.
Yes.
Right. And that comes from scripture. It comes from the story of Esther, the last verse of the book of Esther about Mordecai. But there's another story of it when you said something that reminded me, Moses, right? There's that scene when they're out wandering and he's like, who are these people?
Right.
I did not get birth.
Right.
Yeah, but I always think about that. And it's like, and that's what leadership is.
Yeah.
It's about the people. It's not about the roles, not about the title. It's not about some of the other things. But I think we've got that backwards in a lot of places. And and when you see it, you feel it.
Yeah.
And you know it.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it's, and leaders just don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there too. There's moments where you're like, man, I have lost track of the people. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And I think I ran into that similarly. Not that I didn't love the people that I was leading in my school building.
Right.
What I did not recognize, and it became clear after sitting alongside this gentleman, is that when you're not just leading the people in your space. So I worked in a space where I loved my teachers, I loved my students, but I didn't care much. I didn't think much about parents. Community leaders that also had, or the word that we use in education, stakeholders, who actually had impact on what I was doing. And I found myself loving the people in the building, but not really loving the people outside the building, not realizing that they were actually impacting what was in the building. So that was a big shift for me. It was like, okay, I'm not just leading these 700 kids and these 60 students. I'm leading everybody that's attached to this organization, and that are stakeholders in this organization, and I have to love them all, or else I don't value them all, and then it becomes disruption.
Yeah.
So
it's so hard for so many people to see the systemic nature of how things connect.
Yeah.
Right. Just the connection with this student and that parent and that, it all connects.
Yeah.
It's not everybody sees it naturally.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the challenges come, especially as we think about in your context, back then you were talking about leading in a school system.
Yeah.
In a school system that needed you in your role
Right.
to love the people.
Right.
And all the people.
Yes.
And
All
that's
people.
not easy.
Yes.
At all, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely important. So let's shift gears just a little bit. One of the questions that I love to hear people respond to.
Okay.
Tell us about a time, and this can be about you
Okay.
or someone else.
Okay.
You can help. You can decide here.
Okay.
One of the things that happens often is people misread a room, and leaders especially can often walk in. It's time for the meeting. I'm in charge. They do not read the room. Tell us about a time maybe where you misread the room, or another leader that you've seen just absolutely misread the room and the impact that had on people.
Yeah. So, as you know, a lot of the work that I did in schools was turnaround work.
Yeah.
Meaning that there was a school that had some struggles, whether it be behavior struggles, academic struggles, both. And we had a limited time to try to turn a space around. When you're given that kind of job, you can easily get a complex, right? And that complex is that I'm coming to save a space. Superhero space. I am walking into a space where people don't know what they're doing, or they are, disgruntled about the past, and they are excited about me coming in and doing this work, right? Or at least they have a fresh new beginning. I remember walking into a space with that attitude, and not really recognizing that the leader before me was loved and cared for, even though they had not produced what the school wanted, right? So I walked into the space trying to get at the business at hand without first honoring the person that was before me.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why it is because I'm thinking, if you performing like this, there's no way in the world you like the guy who just left. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Because I'm looking at data. And I walked into the space like, all right, here's me and my team, and we're walking in, and we're going to help change this place. And I went straight into talking about what needed to be changed, which I didn't realize was a reflection on someone that the people loved and cared about. And I went through that my first meeting, trying to, help people understand who I was, who the team was, what we're going to be, all those type of things. And totally thought the meeting went well. And I had an older teacher that came to me about 2 or 3 days before the school year started. I mean, we had already gone through in-service and everything. And she came to me and she said, "Hey, Dr. Mason, I think you need to know something." And I said, "Okay." She said, "The people are excited about your coming." And I was like, "Oh, great." That felt good. But they're grieving who left.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, you have to acknowledge that. That changed everything.
Wow.
So my next meeting, I spent the first 15, 20 minutes talking about the last leader and the good things that went through, because not all things are bad. And at that point in time, when they saw some humility in me to say, okay, he recognized that we've done some good stuff, it changed the atmosphere in the room. And I had to remind myself to continue to do that throughout our first 2 years, bringing that leader back for luncheons, all those type of things, because while they didn't produce what the state wanted, they were good to the people.
Yeah. So how has that shaped some of your work since then? Because as we mentioned earlier, you've worked in public school settings, high-end private school settings, different church settings, different environments. You have to walk in and read the room.
Yeah.
So how is that the story? I appreciate you sharing that story. It's a great story. How has that shaped some of your ability or your intentionality as it comes to reading the room as you walk into these different types of organizations and spaces?
One of the things is it has slowed me down in my research of the history.
Interesting.
I value the history of an organization quite a bit now. I usually try, before I meet with a masses of people, I try to have a conversation with someone who can tell me, what are the things that matter to this space? What are the things that, if changed, would be disruptive, it would be offensive, all those type of things. So before I get into a space where I'm having a whole staff meeting or preaching to an entire church, I try to find out what are the things that really matter. Who are the people that really matter in the past that I need to honor, and the people that I need, some things that I need to embrace and realize, well, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, we can look at adjusting that, but not 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Like that's going to have to sit, and we can work around it. But if you change that thing, it will disrupt a system, right? Or disrupt the people's feeling about the place. I'll give you an example. At the school, the last school I worked, the kindergartens got kindergarten bags. They are the funniest looking, like non-durable. These are not like North Face bags, right? These are bags that kindergartens receive, and it matters, right?
Right.
Kids keep them throughout their whole time, 13 years at the organization.
Wow.
As seniors, they will bring their kindergarten bag back. One of the first things that I came into, I was like, those are not good. Those bags are not the best quality. We can give our kids better bags. They were the same kind of bags they have been getting for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Really small, but changing that and not asking the question. They were like, whoa, leave the bags alone. Major piece that honored the legacy and the history of the place. Now, it seems really small, but it mattered a lot to the community. Change what you want to change. Maybe the curriculum, but leave the bags alone. And you think that should make it, that makes no sense, but it really does. Same thing in churches. Who bought that painting, right? What names, what people do the people here honor? And I need to recognize and know who they are so that I can honor as well. All of those things had slowed me down quite a bit.
I wish we had 5 hours to talk about change. It's my favorite subject, one of my favorite subjects to talk about. We're going to go to lunch. We're going to talk about change.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and we'll do another episode where we talk about change specifically, because I think that is where so many of these bad days show up. It's where a leader walks in, maybe they're new, maybe they're not new. Maybe they just walk in, they've got big ideas and let's go. But they forget the context. They forget we've tried this before. You weren't here, but we've tried this before, and I can tell you what's going to happen. But they don't pay attention to all of that stuff, and so I think we could talk for hours.
Oh, we could definitely,
and
sure.
we will. So,
all right.
But let me move us forward here a little bit. So you've studied leadership. You've been a leader. You've seen bad days. You've learned from those yourself. You've seen others learn. As you observe, you're an observer of people. As you think about red flags. Are there red flags that when you intersect with someone, especially in a leadership position, are there red flags that you can spot almost instantly?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Usually, I try to, when we were doing coaching training years ago, there was something that in this training that we did called Beamers, which is body language, what people are giving off. I try to do a really good job with reading people's body language, what people, furl their brow, what makes their eyes red, all those type of things. So much of when I'm walking into a space is trying to figure out, watching body language. And then another thing that usually comes to me as a red flag is when people, and this may sound harsh, when people want to know things about others that does not impact their role. That's a huge red flag for me. I'll tell you why. What I've learned is that those people who, there's nothing wrong with questioning the organization, all those type of things, but usually people who want to have they're inquisitive about spaces that they don't impact, usually have had a role or influence in those spaces that's unofficial. And now I got to figure out, why is it so important that you know that, right? Why is it so important that you're asking questions about what they're doing or what this part of the organization is doing? And why do you feel like you have the the privilege to ask those questions. So I'm really careful. I'm really intentional about what questions people ask. Are there things that about what they do? Are there things about who I am? All those questions are great. Or are there questions that take them outside of their role, right? And questions that I don't like to use the word. I don't think it's really academic or but the word nosy. Are there places where you're putting or inserting yourself in a space that doesn't help the whole organization? That's usually a red flag for me. On top of the beamers watching body language.
Yeah.
But I've seen that in many cases. I had a guy come to me one time and I said, well, this decision was made and I wasn't consulted. And I said to myself, I said to him, I said, why would we consult you?
Yeah.
Right? What would be the reason that we would consult you on that? I already knew this, but he had had his hands in things that he wasn't prepared for, but also had his hands in things that he should not have. And now the shift felt really difficult for him. But the rest of the organization was happy that that shift had happened. He just didn't, right, so.
Yeah.
I think I hope that
that's a really good red flag. Okay. I mean, I think about some of my own worst days, in leadership where I've been called on something.
Yeah.
A lot of it was body language.
Yeah.
And I've tried to pay really a lot harder attention to just the way I am in a conversation, especially if it's one that I'm not certain we need to be having,
right?
Or if it's one that doesn't seem to be going anywhere,
right?
Because I know that the signals we send, or if I see it in other people, I mean, I know who's dialed in and who's not pretty quick.
Right. Or who's faking being dialed
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely. So that's
fake
good.
support is like,
exactly.
No, you're not. I'm reading
You are
that.
thinking about everything you got to do
right.
after work today, and that's fine too at sometimes. But so let me ask this question. This one might be tough.
Okay.
Maybe. But I think you'll be able to, I know you'll be able to be honest on this. And I think we'll appreciate, I look forward to hearing how you answer this.
Okay.
Was there ever a leader who made work miserable, but taught you something valuable?
Yeah. Yeah. My father, who is my biggest mentor, always says you can learn from everyone. You can learn what to do and what not to do. You just got to decide. Yeah. But I had a leader who made system-wide decisions without looking at the context of individual schools, and which made it really hard to lead because we're talking about demographic of students in which my demographic was, I'm just trying to get my students to school. I'm trying to get them to school. I'm trying to make sure they've eaten. I'm trying to make sure they have the right clothes, all those things before I can even start teaching. And I'm getting handed down a decision from the other, from a group that aligns better with a group of students that have none of those worries, right? They come to school, they're already well fed, they're already taken care of, their parents are supportive, all those type of things. And trying to advocate for a school that looked different than some of the other schools in the district made my job extremely hard because I had to try to unpack every decision that was made here to fit every decision that was made here to fit my context, and then try to give a vision for that for my teachers and my students. And many times they knew this it's not gonna work. We can't go. So it was one of those things where I consider myself somewhat of the middleman because I had to often go back and say, hey, you got to give me either time, space, or you cannot set this expectation on this in my space without these things first being in place.
Yeah.
So either give me more support, or give me more opportunities to be able to fill these gaps, or you got to give me time to fill these gaps so we can move here. I had a leader that told me once. He said, leadership, one of the two things I think is important is that you have to monitor and you have to support.
Right.
Where you struggle is when there's more monitoring than there is support. And I was working in a space where it was all monitoring.
Yeah.
But I was in a space where I needed to support the people before we can get to the monitoring. And that was a miserable 2 or 3 years because I was always unpacking, repacking to give a vision to my students, right? And then trying to double work to get back to where the expectation was. And when we shifted leaders who understood the diversity and the demographics of the whole city, it changed.
Wow.
Because it was like, okay, you got to get here, but I know you got to have this before you get here. Where everyone else, the leader I had previous was like, this is what it is. Everybody do that. It's like, we can't go there first.
What a great lesson, though. I think about some, when you were talking, and just one particular challenging season in my career that was coming to an end. And I remember talking to my wife, and I said, we will never forget this season.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I said this. I said, I hope we never forget this season. Because there have been so many lessons learned, good, some bad, and some ugly.
Yeah.
But I hope we never forget.
Yeah.
Because if we don't learn from our own bad days or the bad days of others,
Right.
man, we're just going to repeat.
Yeah.
And the wake behind that is so challenging.
Yeah.
So I don't want to over dramatize it, but it's so hard to navigate.
It is. Yeah.
And it can be, but it could have been different.
Yeah.
If we learn from those people we see around us, not in a critical way, but in a way that said, I'm here to learn.
Right.
So what can I learn from this person? I don't agree with. What can I learn?
Right.
There's something good there.
Yeah.
There may be some bad. There may be some ugly, but I appreciate what you had to say there.
Yeah.
So you, like I had opportunities to lead in organizations at a young age. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
But when you think about your role now, the roles you play now, you're a professor, you are a minister, you're a leader, you're a consultant, you train, you do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
You also have the opportunity to talk to a lot of young people. So when you think about the lessons you learned or have learned,
Yeah.
what is something you wish someone had told you as a young leader that maybe you can share with others now?
Yeah. I think I kind of mentioned it. Slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do, right? Because you live in fast paced, right? So slowing down a little bit, taking some time to understand who you're leading is really big. And we don't do that a lot of times, because we have a task.
That's right.
So taking some time to so slow down, take some time to understand who you're leading. And then I think another piece that goes with being thrusted into leadership roles as a young person and is humility.
Yeah.
Like you got to humble yourself. But when you walk into a space and you're like, man, I'm 28 years old and I'm doing this and this right.
I'm doing it.
I got my doctorate degree. Right. It's easy for you to walk into a space and think more highly of yourself. And I'm not saying not be confident, because you're going to need confidence to take the hits and the bruises and the bumps. Yeah. But you have to walk into the space and be humble. And it changes everything, because people are willing to learn from someone who exhibits and is a humble person.
Yeah, you got to keep your ego in check.
Yes.
I read that in a book somewhere.
Yeah, it's a good book.
So let's think about, you've alluded to some of this, but maybe there's a specific example of a mistake. A mistake that you made years ago or last week, whatever, but that has shaped your current leadership style. Is there one or two maybe really specific mistakes that you look back on and say, you've shared some things similar, but think about a specific mistake, like, that was a mistake and that's shaped you.
Yeah. So I almost every mistake that has impacted me greatly has been a personnel mistake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, been there, done that.
What they're either hiring the wrong person, or not having the conversation that I need to have early, and allowing people to stay longer, or putting a person in a leadership position that was not ready. So, but there's one that comes to mind in a hire. And I hired a person to work in a school with me. And that person, I guess it's all three kind of combined in one. The person had an okay track record, but I was like, I think we could do it. I think whatever. Hired the person, gave them some opportunities to lead a team, and it was bad. It was, it was bad, and I was not courageous enough soon enough to have the question and to have the conversation and to remove that person out of that space. And by the time that we got to it, it was almost an act of Congress to try to move them out out of the space, and there were red flags that I ignored, and there were opportunities that I overlooked to try to make some change, and that is something that till this day, it impacted my staff in some ways that, without telling too much, arguments in the hallway, parents requesting out of class, all of those kind of things. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I could have changed this. And I tell our staff now, and we have this conversation that if I'm consulting with people, it's better for you not to have someone than to have the wrong someone.
Yeah.
And I have made that decision a couple of times, moving quickly and having the wrong person, as Jim Collins say, the wrong person on the bus in the wrong seat. But that is one that, I can't share names, but it's one particular that almost, really just derailed, 2.5 years worth of work, because I ended up spending 6 months dealing with that. And to the point where she just stopped coming to work. We had nobody come to class. I'm teaching this. It's all of the stuff. And I was thinking, you did this to yourself, because you were not intentional as you should have been in hiring that position in every position. But I've learned now.
We all have those lessons.
Yeah.
Let me give you a chance to show yourself a little grace.
Yeah.
Because we've all been there.
Yeah.
Almost every, I work with executives and leaders from all different backgrounds and experiences. And most all of us have those moments where either we hired somebody we knew it wasn't maybe the best fit, but we let it go through, we let it happen, and then we paid for it. Or even worse, I think, is when you maybe not know about it up front, but after you start to see it, you do those evaluations, you do those performance reviews, and you're too soft, and you don't share truth. Right. And why? Because most of the time it's because it's hard for me to say it.
Right.
I'm going to protect that person. You know what that person needs?
Yep.
That person needs the truth.
Right.
And so, I've got a few in my background that wonderful people at one level, but I wish I had the integrity to meet the courage, or have the courage to meet the demands of that reality faster.
Yeah.
And for their sake.
Yeah.
I was trying to protect them, but really I was trying to protect myself from the hard conversation.
Yep.
And that has those. I said earlier about my bad days.
Yeah.
A lot of them have to do with that as well. Just things that I probably, whether it was early career or just because of some of the dynamics involved, avoided.
Yep.
And we'll work through it. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. It didn't go very well.
Yep.
And but that's real.
Yeah, and so those moments they still haunt me. Some of my teachers, I have quite a few of my team that we went to work in leadership positions throughout the city and the country now. And every now and then we'll have that conversation, and I have one that called me, I guess, a few months ago, and she's like, I'm either going to hire this lady or I'm going to have to teach English for like 3 or 4 weeks. And she's like, but I'm afraid. I don't know. I need somebody in the class. And I said, what's your degree in again? She said, English. I said, teach English for 3 or 4 weeks. Because if you hire her with that kind of reservation, it's going to take longer than 3 or 4 weeks to fix it. And she did that. She was like, all right, I am actually a principal that teaches 3 periods a day.
Wow.
while, we were able to do some, find some more candidates, and it didn't take her 3 or 4 weeks. I think she found a good candidate in about 2, but she was teaching for 2 weeks, standards and everything. And I wish that I would have had the courage to have done that.
So this just like I do. A lot of times in leadership, you create the results you get.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen in life. There's tragedy. There's accidents. There's things that just emerge and happen. But a lot of times, as a leader, especially in organizational life, we create the results we get by our decisions, our processes, our discipline, our routine, whatever it may be. But that's where intentionality has to be a part of it. And so many of bad days that I hear about or I've experienced myself have to do with that lack of intentionality.
Yep.
It's just like kind of things just seem to just happen, or I, on the other side, let them.
Yeah.
And it's not about being in control. It's not about being a micromanager or anything like that, but there's a reality to, if I don't deal with this now, I'm going to wish I had.
Yep.
And
my dad always says, Darwin, bad news doesn't get better over time.
That's true. That's really good. That's really good. That may be the title of this episode. Bad news doesn't get better over time. So as we move towards wrapping up, I want to ask just 1 or 2 more questions here, or one full question and then maybe some rapid questions, if that's okay. What would you tell a new leader about failure? About especially someone who's afraid of getting it wrong. Maybe they've walked into their first role where they manage people for the first time. Maybe they've assumed a position in a organization that they have a larger amount of influence than they have before, but they seem to be stuck with the idea of getting it wrong. What would you tell a new leader about failure?
It's unavoidable.
Yeah.
It's inevitable and it's unavoidable, and just accept it as a part of the work. But how you respond to failure is the way that what really determines who you are and how your organization grows. People know you're going to fail. It's better for you to know that you're going to fail as well. It's not that you want to live in a space of failure, but you have to be able to put it in its proper context. Failure is not the end of the road. It's just a part of the process. I think if I could be a little biblical right now.
Do it.
If you think about James in the first chapter of James, the writer says, when you are faced with various trials, right? Consider it all joy when you are faced with these diverse trials. He doesn't say consider it all joy if you face.
Right.
The idea is you are going to face it, and that's part of the process. And I think that's the same thing that leaders have to know, is that you can't avoid failure. As a matter of fact, the biggest failure that you may face is trying to avoid failure.
Yeah.
Right? Or trying to get out of failure without learning the lesson that comes along with it.
Or pretending you've never failed.
Pretend you never failed. Right. So I just think, it sounds cliche, but it's true. Failure is not final. But it's part of the process. And the more gracious you handle your failure and move forward, the better you are as a leader. And it also is a model of people that are around you that fail. They'll say, I can be gracious with myself and I can be gracious with him as well because of the way he's handled his bumps in the road or his mistakes.
Well, perseverance produces character.
That's right.
And character produces hope.
That's right. That's right. Right.
That's awesome.
So that would be my...
That's so good. That's so good. All right, rapid response here.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Mason. Leadership without humility becomes blank.
Failure.
Failure.
Yeah. Leadership without humility becomes consistent failure.
Yeah.
Right. And for the most part, let me give you a better word. It becomes authoritarian. It becomes dictatorship.
Oh, yeah.
Because humility makes you see people. Right. So,
my way or the highway.
My way or the highway. And nobody is able to sustain leadership like that.
Especially in today's world.
Not in today's world. No.
There's not enough, I'll say this carefully, not enough respect for institutions, organizations, or the traditional positions of leadership as there once was. And so if you assume one of those positions, and you just think just by being in that position, people are going to follow you. It's not happening these days.
Right. I mean,
The world's changed.
It's right. It's the idea of leadership is, and you mentioned this in some of our conversations, leadership is about influence, not about position. I've had some people who don't hold a position but run the company.
Oh yeah,
I've seen that many times.
Absolutely.
Right. So, so humility allows you to really lead.
I love that. All right, another rapid question here. Culture erodes fastest when?
Trust is minimized when there's a little trust.
Yeah.
I think there's this saying that I just tell all of our people that I lead, and I was just telling our youth ministers recently: trust is gained in drips and lost in buckets. Right. So if you have not intentionally built trust, culture will leave quickly. So I think you have to spend a lot of time building trust amongst the people and with you and the people in order for you to have a strong culture.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, one more here. The best leaders never stop
Communicating.
communicating.
The best leaders never stop communicating. And what I mean by that, I mean communicating vision, communicating not just the what, but the how and the why. A good leader is always keeping his people and the people that they lead informed of what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it and all those type of things. If you go back to, I'll be biblical again, go back to Jesus, right? When you look at Jesus, what he was great at is communication.
Yeah.
He would say, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I need you to do this. And this is how I plan to get it done. So even until the very end of his life, he even communicated what was going to happen. You look at John 14, he says, let not your heart be troubled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I go to prepare a place. So it's like, I'm leaving here, but I need to communicate to you what's coming next. And when I leave, you will receive a comfort. So it's the communication, effective communication, is a virtue of a good leader.
Yeah, I love that. This has been such a good conversation. As we begin to wrap up here, one thing that stands out to me as someone who knows you, but also observes you in leadership in different spaces, you always bring leadership back to people, as we talked about, presence, purpose.
Yeah.
Leadership, I think, for you isn't about performance. And I think we've heard that today. For those listening today who maybe they're in a hard season, maybe they seem to be stacking bad days more than great days, questioning themselves, maybe they're carrying the weight, maybe the guilt of leadership. Leadership, as has been shared by many, is a glorious burden, and maybe they really feel that right now.
Yeah.
What encouragement would you want to leave people with who might be listening to this, who are in a season where it seems like the bad days keep mounting up?
The first thing would be, it's a season. And while it may seem like a long season, it is not the end. It's a season, and every season has its end. The second piece would be, while you're in this season, learn as much as you can, because you are going to need these lessons in the next season. So I think for us to just recognize, it may not feel good, but it is not the end of the road. Learn as much as you can. It's a season, and be refined in it, in the season. Tough seasons, especially for those people who are people of faith. Tough seasons are seasons of refinement.
Yeah.
Right. When you burn gold, you burn it, although it's hot and it receives pressure. You burn it to get rid of the impurities so that you have the actual best product, which is pure gold on the other side. So sometimes the season that you are in is God's way of refining and burning off the things so that he can get the best version out of you on the other side.
I love that.
So that's
So
just
good.
it. Yeah.
That's a good word. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. To our listeners, what a great episode. What a great just grouping of lessons and thoughts from Dr. Darwin Mason Jr. I am so thrilled that you've been here today. If this episode has resonated with you in any kind of way, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, share this with your friends and your networks. And just remember that the lessons we often learn in our worst days are the ones that help us have more great days on the other side. So God bless, and we'll see you on the next episode.